1.5. So what we were doing last class, so let's say the instruction would be solve for x and draw the solution on a number line. Okay, and I'll do the and and the or for each of these. I've got 3 more examples. We'll do the and the or so you can see the difference between them. So here's the question itself. So when we have 2 different inequalities, that's a system of inequalities. A system means more than one equation at a time, and we would solve them both separate, and then we need to look at the answer together, putting it together. So and means all together, or the overlap. So we need to look at the 2 solutions and where they overlap, and that will be the final answer. So here, 3x greater than or equal to 11 minus 2, just treating the inequality as if it's a normal equal sign. So that's the first side. And then 4x greater than 7 plus 1. Okay, so here's our 2 solutions. And then we look at them on a number line just to see what this would look like. This won't be the solution because we'll have too much on here. Make sure you put your 2 numbers in the right order. So 2 smaller, so it will go first, and then 3. You don't really need any more tick marks than that. You can if you want, but that's fine. So this says x is greater than or equal to 3. So that would be here, colored in, and go in that direction. Now this isn't going to be the answers, but we're looking at the 2. And then if we draw x is greater than 2, so that's 2 but not equal, and in that direction. So because it said and, we're looking at where they both are. And where are they both? Greater than 3. Now is 3 included in both? Yes. So our answer, our solution, will be that x is greater than or equal to 3. It is in both. And our number line for that, we just need the 3. Make your line a little thicker and put an equals. Color that in because of the equal sign. And that's what you'd be looking for. Okay, now what if it were or? So everything's the same up to this point. When we look at the solutions and determine what to write as the answer. Okay, everything is the same up to that point. So if the question were the same, but there was an or in between, you would still solve it the same and get x is greater than or equal to 3, and here would it be x is greater than 2. You still draw the same number line. But now or means what? Yeah. So or does not mean the overlap. It means where anything is. Anything at all. Either one or the other, it doesn't matter. So we have to include this part as well. It's not just the overlap, it's everything. So if we were to color it all on top of each other, it would start at 2, but not including 2. Because 2 is not included in either of them. And it would go bigger. And the 3 would sort of just be ignored because that's absorbed into the greater than 2. So our solution here would be that x is greater than 2. You could put the 3 on here and the 2 on here if you want to, but they have nothing to really to do with the solution. Okay, questions? Okay, so the next one. 5 minus x is greater than 7, or 2x plus 3 is greater than negative 3. So I started with the or this time, and then we'll do the and, okay? So what is the only difference when you're rearranging if it has an inequality versus just having an equal sign? What's the only difference? The only thing we do different. When we always move the x to the side that makes the x positive, you don't leave an x with a negative in front. So here, when we solve this, we would actually move the x to that side and the 7 over here. So minus 2, and then, so that's saying x is less than negative 2. Just doing the mirror image there. So you always want your x to be positive. And here it already is positive. So minus 3 minus 3. Okay, so what does this one look like when we draw it? Now we're doing the or first, which is easy. It's wherever there is a line is the answer. So which one is lower, minus 3 or minus 2? Minus 3. Minus 2 is bigger, so it will go more to the right. Less than minus 2, but not equal. We'll go this way. This says greater than minus 3. We'll go this way. So the or is including everything that we've drawn on there. So what it would be included? All real numbers. Everything's included. The 2 wasn't, the negative 2 wasn't, but once we put this line through, didn't that go through negative 2? Yeah, so now the negative 2 is included. And the same going this way. So our solution will be x is an element of real numbers. And since I said to draw a number line, there's nothing really to draw. I just made a thick number line. Okay, it's all real numbers, so I'll understand that you meant the whole number line if you said all real numbers. If you said no solution and you just drew an empty number line, it would sort of look the same, right? Maybe thinner line, but I would know that you meant that if you said no solution. Okay, so same question but with an and. So this was x is less than minus 2, and this was x is greater than minus 3. So let's look at that number line again. So greater than minus 3, less than minus 2. And we're looking for the overlap where both lines are drawn. It has to be included in both. So what would be the solution? Yeah, so we'd say x is between, always pointing in the same direction, down towards the lower number, is between negative 3 and negative 2. Any equal signs? No, because the 3 and the negative 2 are not included in whichever one they come from. So it's just the in-between. And on our number line, we need both numbers. And it would be in between. And the last one like these. 5x plus 1 less than negative 4, and 2x plus 3 greater than or equal to 3. So solve each of them. Five over 5 is negative 1. Three minus 3, 0. 0 divided by 2, that's okay, it's 0. So here's our 2. And the first one I said was and, so when we draw it, we're looking for the overlap. -1 is smaller than 0, so we get them in the right order. Less than -1, greater than 0. So we're looking for the overlap, and there is none, so what would we say?
No solution.
No solution. So the solution is no solution. And there's a number line with nothing on it. Okay, there's no answers that work because there's no overlap. Now, if it were or, what would be the solution? So, or it doesn't matter if they overlap or not, everything is the solution. So all of these numbers and all of these numbers are the solution. And because they don't overlap, we say or. So the solution is just what is given. So this or so less than -1. Or greater than or equal to 0, so color in that dot. And just with an or in between it is the solution. You can't combine these into one equation because they aren't one equation. They're two separate equations. They're drawn in two separate places. There's no way to put them together. So you have to put it with an or. When you draw it and there is just one place where they're colored in, like this one up here, then the solution has to be written as one single equation. You don't put them as separate, even if you put an and in between. Okay, you write them as one when it's one piece colored, and when you want to indicate two pieces on a number line, then you write it as two pieces with an or in between. Okay, so that's how those go. There's a couple of those on the homework, and then there's lots here for you to practice, okay? And like I said earlier in the term, if you want extra practice questions, you can look them up online. There'd be tons. You could also get any book from the library that's labeled pre-calculus. They would also have a section similar to every section we did. Or you can write down all the questions I did in class, and that will give you tons of questions to practice from with the answers that you can go back and look at. Okay, so we're just going to go back to a couple more with the absolute value and inequality mixed together. These are just one step before these types of questions that we just did. The difference is that the solution will always be either in between or on the outside like this for these absolute value ones. Okay, so how we rewrite it. So what I do to remember which is over on the side I say, okay, well here's a 2, it's absolute value, so -2 and +2. We want bigger than 2. So where are the numbers that are bigger than 2? 2 is equal to 2, and then bigger would be that way. Equal to -2, and bigger would be this way, because remember it's a distance, so this would be 3 away from 0 if we went that way. All right, -3 would be 3 away, -4 would be 4 away. They're all bigger than 2 away. So we're looking at two pieces with an or in between because they don't overlap. It's two pieces, so you have to write it as two equations. So step 1 is to rewrite If there's an absolute value and an inequality in the same question, you rewrite it. So we would say 2x plus 5, and look over here at your number line to say, we want it to be greater than 2, or, and this one would be 2x plus 5 is less than or equal to negative 2. So you need to set up the two equations with the right symbol, either and or in between. How do you know which is which? Or is when there's two pieces, because you can't be in both at the same time, and is when we're in between. Okay? So we'll do one of each. Then you solve these just as we just did with the other questions. So minus 3 over 2 is the answer. Minus 2 minus 5. And minus 7 over 2. And we've got an or in between. Minus 3 over 2 and minus 7 over 2. Which is smaller? The 7 over 2. That's 3.5. And that's 1.5. So 3.5 is smaller. This says greater than negative 3.5. That goes this way. This says less than negative 7 over half. That goes that way. And it's or, so we want them both to be our answer. So our solution is that x is less than negative 7 over 2, or x is greater than or equal to negative 3 over 2. And I didn't redraw the number line because it just, when it's or, whatever is on there is the answer, so I didn't have to compare anything in overlap. Okay, so how to identify the question? You say, okay, there's an absolute value and an inequality in the same question. I have to rewrite that without the absolute value. Anytime there's an absolute value question, there's always two pieces. We know that from when we did the absolute value. Now this one says less than 5. So less than 5, here's 0. Where are the points that are less than 5? They're all in here. Less than 5 away, it's a distance. We don't want it to be equal this time. So we're looking at an answer to be in between two numbers here. It's not going to be 5 itself because we have to consider this 3x plus 1. It's going to move it around, but the answer will still be in between two numbers because it's saying less than. Yeah?
So is that always the case when it's less than?
Yep. Yep, always. So, yes, that's always the case. When it's less than, it's in between, and when it's greater than, it's going to be on two sides. Okay, so how do we set up this equation? Well, this is saying that 3x minus 1 is in between 5 and minus 5. So we can't solve it like that. We have to set it up with an and in between. So what I would do is say this is minus 5 is less than 3x minus 1, and 3x minus 1 is, so we take this piece, and then we do the same thing, take the middle with the greater than, or the less than 5, and take the middle with the greater than. So split them up into two questions and then solve it, and then it'll go back together in between. So the 3x here is positive on this side, so we'll leave that there so that it doesn't become negative if we move it over. Move the 1. So minus 4 is less than 3x. Minus 4 over 3 is less than x. And here, So those are the two numbers that we're going to be in between. If you put it on a number line, minus 4 over 3 is smaller. This is saying x is greater than minus 4 over 3, if we flip it around to read it. So that goes minus 4 over 3 and bigger, goes that way. This says less than negative 2, and we want the and, so it's in between. And yes, it'll always be in between because that's how we started the question. We knew that it was going to be in between two numbers. And we would write it together all as one equation. There was no equals, so there's no equals in the answer. Okay, so that's how you would set up those. Okay, so here's one I want you to start. I want you to try it. So we're going to wait a minute. I want you to put this on a number line. So look at what it would mean. Put your minus 2 and your 2 to start. Draw a little number line and try to write the equations. So you've got the two examples we just did to look at. Okay, so you're going to try these two. See if you can get the right answer before I do them. I'm just going to shut the video off and then we'll write the right answer. It'll still be on the notes online, just not in the video.